The Patriots Pulse Preview Show. I'm your host, John Sarianides, and I'm joined by my partner, John Sapichetti. John, how you doing on this fine Sunday morning? We're back to having Sunday football after the Patriots beat the New York Jets the last time we saw them on Thursday Night Football. Of course, next week they're back on primetime on Monday Night Football when the New York Giants visit Gillette Stadium. Of course, that'll be a week where me and Kevin Stone are going to be living at Gillette, so if you're looking for us, that's where you'll be able to find us. But nonetheless, how are you doing this morning?
Doing okay. Looking forward to a game. The Patriots 9-2. They've won 8 in a row. They right now look like one of the top 2 or 3 teams in football, going against the Cincinnati Bengals, who at 3-7 are still a very interesting team, but for all the wrong reasons. But I'm doing good.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear. And I think you bring up a good point about them being interesting for all the wrong reasons. Of course, there were reports this week that Joe Burrow practiced. There was some speculation that he could potentially play. Bengals throw cold water on that on Friday, saying he is not going to play. The target date is now Thursday night when they visit the Baltimore Ravens. So no Joe Burrow today. The Patriots are going to get Joe Flacco. And, of course, they're not going to see Jamar Chase because he's a freaking idiot. He spit on Jalen Ramsey last week, and because of his stupidity, the NFL suspended him for 1 game. So Jamar Chase will be out today. And once again, everything comes up roses for the Patriots. Sometimes in your football life, you have a year like this where you get all the breaks, and you need breaks to win in football more so than any other sport, but you get all the breaks, and it seems to be going that way for the Patriots. No Burrow today, no Jamar Chase, and oh, by the way, the offense is facing a historically bad defense. That's not Kevin Stone-esque hyperbole. That is reality. The Cincinnati Bengals, simply put, suck on defense.
They sure do. And talking about everything coming up, Patriots, you can be a very good football team, which the Patriots are. If they're playing on Super Bowl Sunday, I would not be shocked. I'd be mildly surprised, but not shocked. But you can't argue that the path to getting to this point hasn't been laid out pretty well for them. Okay, so they were 1-2. They lost to Pittsburgh. That was the game that I actually was really impressed with them. They turned the ball over 5 times, but they still were in the game and dominated for 2.5 quarters against a good Pittsburgh team. Then they took care of business against Carolina. And then, as I predicted, they went in and beat the Bills in Buffalo. And since then, they've just been a juggernaut. But they played New Orleans. Then they played Tennessee. Then they played the Atlanta Falcons, who are God's gift to finding ways to lose football games. Then they beat Cleveland at Gillette Stadium. Cleveland's horrible on the road, better at home. Tampa was looked at as this gigantic win. I'm not a huge Baker Mayfield fan. You also faced Tampa without 2 of their great receivers, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Also, their running back, Bucky Irving, was out. And then you got the Jets on a short week, a week after they traded their 2 best defenders, Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner, and also playing without their best wide receiver, Garrett Wilson. So now you play the Cincinnati Bengals. If this was a week later, you'd be facing Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and maybe even Trey Hendrickson, who is out today. I mean, facing the Bengals today is like facing the 2012 Miami Heat without LeBron, Wade, and Bosh. I mean, it's simply they're without their 3 best players. So it should be a layup. But again, as you've said a million times, it's the NFL. There are certain matchups. Teams are desperate. Wouldn't it be so 2025 that a team that's won 8 in a row goes to play a team that's lost 7 of 8 and it's a game? That is what the NFL football is all about. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
It's football. Yeah. Are we still doing the stupid schedule thing, by the way? I just out of curiosity, because I feel like that was the tenor of your comment there.
No.
I'm only asking because the Indianapolis Colts have not played a great schedule.
True.
Neither have the Denver Broncos.
No.
And they're right there with the Patriots in terms of the top seeds.
Absolutely.
Just curious, are we still doing the schedule thing?
But I said at the beginning of it, the Patriots are a very good team. I would not be surprised that they play on Super Bowl Sunday.
So you prefaced it and then did the schedule thing.
But still, that's part of it. I mean, both things could be true. I do have the ability to hold 2 thoughts in my mind at the same time, believe it or not. I know that might be tough to believe, but that is the case with this. But no, they've earned a 9-2 record. Heck, we both agree they could easily be 11-0. If they don't have 5 turnovers against the Steelers, they win that game. And I still don't know how the hell they lost to the Raiders on opening day. Now that you look back at it, they could be 11-0. I think right now, other than the LA Rams, they're the best team in football. And I have no problem in saying that.
And again, I'll go back to what I've always said, and this is tried and true throughout the years of football at every level. Sure, you can in high school football, you can control who you schedule. In college football, you can control who you schedule. In the NFL, you don't. So but across the board, you play who's put in front of you.
Yes.
And I think at the end of the day, and I've said this to you in the past, especially the last 2 weeks, I think that this narrative now is getting a little cumbersome. We have to. This is a good football team. You don't win 9 games in the NFL by accident. I think we have to start to acknowledge it. And look, I think a lot of people are going to say, well, the Bills are down. They're not themselves. Well, who cares? The Bills are a flawed football team. The Bills have always been fraudulent to me. So I've been proven right by the Bills now for 5 years. So I don't have to say anything about them because what they're doing right now is not a surprise because I don't think Sean McDermott's the guy that's going to get him there. I think Josh Allen's flaws continue to show up. Yes, he's an elite quarterback, but elite quarterback is one thing. All-time great or great quarterback is another. I wouldn't put him in that class. I don't think he has a lot to work with in his defense, and I think that their defense has a lot of holes, especially in the secondary. So you can look at Buffalo. You can look at Baltimore. They're 5-5. I guess you could say they're coming, but I still expect a playoff gag job out of them. So now you look at the AFC and you say to yourself, okay, who's left? Indianapolis is a tough schedule down the stretch. I think they will come back to the pack. Denver, to me, offensively, has a lot of problems. Their defense is playing at an elite level, and that could be enough to carry them, but their offense needs to play much better. So then you look at this Patriots team, and then I start to say to myself, well, what do they have to do to actually prove to people that they belong in the contender conversation? Now, again, I've been hesitant to say that I think they're going to get to Santa Clara, but when you look at this year, when you look at it in a vacuum, they have as good a chance as anybody to potentially get there just because of the way things are playing out. That's not to say that Drake May has arrived and that they're going to be a consistent contender. It is to say, though, schedule or not, they're in position, especially if they win today and get to 10-2, they're in a pretty good spot to more than likely wrap up this division probably in the next 3 weeks and be a top 2 seed.
I agree with everything you just said. I just, again, prefaced it with a little bit of that they are an absolutely really good football team. They're top 10 in all the offensive metrics and all the defensive metrics. They haven't won games because of turnovers. They're at 0 in terms of turnovers. They've turned it over as much as they've created turnovers, so they're not winning on those lucky bounces of the balls. Their special teams are solid. This is a solid football team who right now have a quarterback who I would make the case is played better than any other quarterback in the AFC. It's come down right now to Drake May and Matthew Stafford as the 2 leading contenders for MVP. And I think it's going to end up that way because these 2 guys are playing at such a high level. So you have the best quarterback in the AFC for this season. He's not the best quarterback in the AFC historically, or maybe even going forward. But in 2025, he is the best quarterback in the AFC. You also have one of the very best coaches in all of football in Mike Vrabel. So you put those 2 guys together. The defense has been really solid. The wide receiver room has improved greatly. That offensive line seems to be getting better every week. He's only been sacked once in the last 2 weeks. These are all great things to look forward to. That's why if they're playing in the middle of February in Santa Clara against the Rams, I would not be surprised at all. I wouldn't. But I just wanted to put it into context that things have broken their way, which it has to at times. Sometimes you need a little bit of luck or maybe a little flavor in the schedule. No problem. They're going to have 2 tough games going forward. After today, they play the Giants Monday night in Foxborough, and then they have to play after their bye Baltimore and Buffalo. In theory, those should be tough games.
Yeah, they should. And I think they'll tell us a lot about who they are. Ken Matthias checking in. Good morning, gents. How confident are both of you heading into this week? Cincinnati missing Chase and Burrow, the league's worst defense. Thoughts on the game? Whatever, man. Listen, how confident I am, they should win. And I think they should have won even if Burrow and Chase play in the game. I think they're the better team. They should have won even if those 2 guys played. If they lost, it wouldn't surprise me, but I think they're better than the Bengals. They're better constructed. They're better coached. Even if Burrow and Chase play, the Patriots should be favored and they should win. So they're not going to play. It makes it easier, but the Bengals are front-running frauds even when Burrow's healthy. So they're another team that I don't put a lot of my chips into in terms of contender status. I just don't buy them. The Kansas City Chiefs have ruled the roost in the AFC the last 5 or 6 years because they're a better constructed, better coached team. And Patrick Mahomes, when the stakes are at their highest, he typically rises to that occasion. We have not seen that. We've seen it from Burrow at times. We haven't really seen it from Allen necessarily. And I don't care what his playoff numbers would say. But you know what? Yeah, you're catching a break today with those two guys out. No doubt. It would have been a much better game. I think if those guys play, it's a better game and it's probably a shootout. I'd still pick the Patriots. But overall, yeah, they should win today. They should take care of business.
The last 5 years in the AFC, Patrick Mahomes has appeared in 5 AFC championship games. Joe Burrow and Josh Allen have appeared in 2, and Lamar Jackson appeared in 1. Now, will that streak be broken this year? Probably, because I think Drake May is going to go that far at least. So you could see that there's a new gun in town. Now, is he as good as those guys? I think he's trending in that direction. But again, we thought Jaden Daniels was as good as those guys, and now we see in year 2 he's not. We thought C.J. Stroud after a great rookie year was going to be as good as those guys, and now he's not. You have to put together multiple years to get into that high level of play. But yeah, I mean, obviously, how is Cincinnati possibly a contender with the worst defense in the history of football? I don't care how many points you score, who's the quarterback, who's the wide receiver, who's calling the plays. You just can't match up when you have a defense, by the way, John, that gives up 34 points per game and 422 yards per game. Okay, that's what they give up on average. To put that into context, the 2007 Patriots, one of the greatest offenses ever, Tom Brady, 50 touchdown passes, Randy Moss, 23 touchdown catches. That team averaged 36 points and 411 yards per game. This Bengals team gives up 34 points and 222 yards per game. This defense, the Bengal defense, has made every opponent look like the 2007 Patriots. That is sad.
It is. It is. And the sad thing is they've invested on that side of the ball. That's the problem. I mean, you know, Mike Brown gets a lot of grief for how cheap he is and how he doesn't spend money. But when you look at this roster, they've spent money on this roster. One of the biggest myths in football is the Bengals offensive line and how they don't invest in it. Well, they have invested in it. They gave Orlando Brown a big contract. They signed 3 years ago. They signed 2 years ago. They signed Brown. 3 years ago, they signed Karras and Kappa. They spent money on those guys. They drafted Mims out of Georgia to play right tackle. They've invested in the offensive line. That's a myth. It hasn't worked out necessarily. You can make that point. But the idea that they're not trying to protect a guy in Joe Burrow who is talented, top 5 at the position, but brittle as F, they've tried to protect him. They've invested in it. It hasn't worked. The problem with the Bengals is I think that they're a prime example of what happens when you overspend at certain positions, namely the skill positions, and when you focus so much on the RAS scores. And they're a big RAS franchise. They love the relative athletic score guys and how they test and everything else. And that's great. But in the end, you need football players. I don't give a shit how a guy tests if he can't play come game day. If he can't get it done between the white lines, but he runs a 4.3 40 and he looks good in compression shorts and a compression shirt, that's awesome. I'm glad that he's an Adonis from Monday through Saturday. But if he's not someone else on Sunday, that dude ain't going to help you win. So at the end of the day, you know what? Again, I think that this is a team that's poorly constructed. You can debate whether or not Zach Taylor is a good coach. I think Al Golden is a good coach. He's not as bad a coach as this defense has looked. But I think at the end of the day, this is a team that's in this predicament because they are poorly constructed and they've overinvested in certain positions. And you're dying to say something right now.
Oh, I sure am, because there's a lot of things there. But first of all, as far as their scouting, the Baltimore Ravens, one of the best organizations in all of football, has 35 people working in their personnel department. The Cleveland Browns, who are actually fairly well run, except they just can't find a quarterback, they have 31 people working in their player personnel department. The Cincinnati Bengals have 8. You've told me you've been to pro days where there's 31 NFL teams at the pro day, except for the Cincinnati Bengals. I swear there's CFL teams that do more scouting than the Cincinnati Bengals. So obviously, when they picked Shamar Stewart with their first-round pick this year, they never met with him. If you're drafting a player like that who has great RAS scores, right? So he's a guy who's 6'5", 275, looks like Myles Garrett, unfortunately plays like Miles Teller, the actor. So, I mean, this is a guy who's
Miles Tapper.
Miles Tapper. Could be
He's the brother of Jake Tapper.
Jake Tapper's brother, not Miles Tapper. Miles Teller. But here's a guy who...
We don't know what the hell we're talking about.
No, we're being entertaining.
I'm tired. I just coached in a high school playoff game yesterday. That was exhausting. It took a lot out of me at 50. I'm tired, man.
Hey, I'm 62 and I ate a lot of Chinese food last night. So
we're on to Franklin.
Yes, on to Franklin as opposed to on to Cincinnati with Belichick. But yeah, so the scouting department hasn't been there. They spent $9 picks in the first 3 rounds over the last few years on defensive players. They just haven't hit with any of them.
Yeah.
Whether it's
They've had
coaching,
shit luck too.
and they have bad luck. And as far as the tackles, Orlando Brown is on his 3rd team. Baltimore moved on from him. Kansas City moved on from him. 2 pretty well-run organizations. You think maybe he didn't have much left when they signed him. And Mims is a guy who is gigantic. But watch today. Watch today how many times he will leave the field, go in the blue tent, miss a series. He's just not tough. He's just not tough.
I think a lot of this, but I do think, and you and I disagree on this because I know you glaze Burrow, but I think a lot of this is also the guy needs to stay healthy. Plain and simple. He's got to look at what his routine is in the offseason. What is he doing on the in the facility, off the facility? What is he doing to prepare himself physically to stay healthy? We can sit here and say Orlando Brown's washed up and Mims is fat and slow and all this other stuff. Bottom line is this dude is brittle as fuck. He really is, and he needs to stay on the field. It's not like Mahomes doesn't get hit or Allen doesn't get hit. Look, Jackson had some injuries this year, but for the most part, he's been healthy in his career. But when you look at those 3 classes, specifically the 18 class and the 20 class, those 2 classes have produced top 5 quarterbacks in this league. He's the one guy that you could say, yes, in theory, he's gotten to a Super Bowl. He's beaten Mahomes in Kansas City in a playoff game, blah, blah, blah. But he hasn't been able to build off of that. And a big reason for that is the dude just can't stay healthy. So we could sit here and say his offensive line sucks, they're this, they're that. You can't argue, though, as cheap as Brown is, and we can sit here and babble about how many scouts they have, which, by the way, doesn't mean nearly as much as people think it does. I mean, it's nice to see a guy in person, but ultimately, a lot of this stuff is, do you scout him during the season and what you see on tape? That's what ultimately determines it, not a pro day. But at the end of the day, this dude's got to stay healthy, John. Because if he's healthy, we know the Bengals can be good, but the guy can't stay on the field. That's a problem.
I mean, these are major injuries, though. It's not like he showed up to camp 20 pounds overweight. I don't think he's brittle. I just think, you have ligaments torn from wherever. That's tough to overcome. The last injury that occurred in week 2 against Jacksonville, on the play, Jamar Chase was the first read. It was a slant to Jamar Chase. The corner jumped the route. Within 1.3 seconds, he had 3 Jacksonville Jaguars at his legs falling on his lower extremities. 1.3 seconds. I mean, that's not enough for a quarterback to even make a second read. What is he supposed to do in that situation? Throw the football away before that? I mean, yeah, I can give him a little criticism in that maybe he holds the 1.3 seconds. I mean, is he a cyborg? I mean, that's a difficult situation to put quarterbacks in, and the toe, came off, whatever. And he's coming back a month earlier than he was supposed to. I think he works hard. I don't think he's a guy that spends the offseason not staying in shape. It appears like he's all in on football. So, yeah, it's not a good thing. We've seen some players, athletes throughout other sports have injury concerns early, and then they get it right later. Whether it was Drew Brees, whether it was Phil Simms. Phil Simms had a ton of injuries early in his career, and then he became an Iron Man. So there's an evolution of all of this, and you hope that he continues to play because he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and he's fun to watch, and he makes them obviously relevant. But, yeah, I mean, he's got to do a better job of taking care of himself, but they've got to do a better job of protecting him.
Yeah. We'll agree to disagree there. I think he's overrated. All right, so Adam checks in. Good morning, gentlemen. Another good day for a W. Yes, they should win. Broken down, Burrow's not playing. Chase is a friggin' idiot for spitting on Ramsey. I don't know what the hell's wrong with Trey Hendrickson, and who cares at this point. But
is that you or the person calling in using?
No, that's me commenting on what the person said. Adam checks in with us routinely. Pay attention; he's always checking in.
I know that.
But he says that it's a good day for a W, and I think that they should get it done. By the way, let's play this catastrophic scenario. What would it say about this Patriots team, hypothetically, before people jump all over me for asking John this question? But what would it say about this Patriots team if they lose today?
They didn't show up. I mean, if they show up, take care of the football, and do what they're supposed to do, they should win by 10 to 14 points, if not more. Now, Joe Flacco is going to show up and play, even with his hurt shoulder, and he's going to sling it. And they've still got some nice weapons. They can put some points on the board. How in the hell is Cincinnati going to stop the Patriots offense? Now, Drake May, who I think is second behind Matthew Stafford for MVP, has been the model of consistency. This is what's so impressive about him. He hasn't had a 300-yard passing game yet, but he hasn't had any game under 200 yards. He's been incredibly consistent with that. He's had multiple 3-touchdown games, but no 4-touchdown games. He's never thrown more than 1 interception in a game this year. He's been ridiculously consistent. So, he's going to show up and have a good game. They should put points on the board. If they lose to Cincinnati today, it says that they didn't show up. They overlooked the team. And also maybe Cincinnati just rallied the troops and played the best game they've ever played. But I can't see their defense doing anything, John. They're last in the league in every category defensively. They can't rush the passer, especially without Trey Hendrickson. They can't stop the run. They can't cover in the secondary. Oh, by the way, they're the worst tackling team I've ever seen. I mean, and just look at Geno Stone today. He's a guy who's just mailed it in and is making business decisions. I'd rather have Kevin Stone, Emma Stone, Sharon Stone, anybody named Stone out there instead of Geno Stone. He is god awful. And a lot of the guys on that defense
Can you imagine
just
Kevin
mailed it in.
Stone as a nickel corner? That would be awesome.
It's better than Geno Stone. Seriously, this guy is.
Yeah, but you're targeting Geno Stone to take out your frustration that your boy can't stay healthy and play and that they're losing because you went to the Nash and put money on him at the beginning of the year. So don't take it out on Geno Stone because Burrow's a wuss and he can't stay healthy. They can't protect him and their defense sucks. It's not all Geno Stone's fault. And just like that, Sapichetti disappears because he doesn't like my commentary on defending Geno Stone and all the other stuff that's going on with the Cincinnati Bengals. John should be joining us here momentarily. Again, you are watching the Patriots Pulse preview show. I'm your host, John Sirenides, and there he is. He's back. He almost quit the show because I attacked Burrow and stood up for Geno Stone. I mean, why is he the scapegoat to how bad they are? Poor Geno Stone. What has he ever done?
No, he's just I don't even know the man. But again, I got to stick up for my quarterback because he's not a wuss. He's coming back a month early, and he's going to play Thursday night. It's supposed to be a 12 to 14-week injury. It's about 10, or around the same amount of time that Christian Gonzalez spent out with the hamstring injury in training camp. So I think he's okay. Right. But Geno Stone is awful.
Strays? But why is Gonzalez catching strays? Because you have to, again, defend one of the most overrated quarterbacks in the league.
Sure. This is what we do.
Oh.
So how long have we done?
Gonzalez has to catch
I love
strays.
Christian.
By the way, Ramondre Stevenson had a turf toe. He had a turf toe, and as far as we know, he's playing today. So let's not pretend Joe Burrow is Lazarus and he's coming back from the dead.
That's pretty good. I thought Wolverine would be better, but again, he had an operation. He's coming back from an operation. That's a little different. But we can move on and talk about other things because we're not going to agree on this one for sure. How long have we done radio? You know my style.
Yeah, well, you're like a teenage boy with the quarterbacks. It's like ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking to
and apparently on music, I'm a teenage girl as well. I'm streaming Dua Lipa and Rihanna and everybody else. So I'm going backwards in my childhood.
Your food tastes are good. Some of your other tastes need work. To your point, though, about how historically bad they've been defensively, when you look at the next-gen stats and you look at the matchup comparisons, they are 32nd in the league against short passing plays. They are 32nd in the league when teams just run drop back, no play action. They are 32nd in the league in overall passing efficiency. They're 31st when teams throw and they blitz, which means you got to do something else here because your pressure packages aren't getting there. They're 32nd in the league in long passing, 32nd in the league versus the blitz. So when they blitz, teams are still completing passes at a high percentage. They're 29th in the quick passing game, i.e. three-step and perimeter screens. They're 31st when they don't blitz and they just decide they're going to rush 3 and drop 8 or rush 4 and drop 7. They are 28th against no pressure. So when they don't pressure at all, and some of these stats get a little convoluted, but when they don't pressure at all, let's say it's 3rd and long and they only rush 3 or even 2 and drop 9, I mean, they're still giving up a high percentage of passes. They are 16th against fade balls and posts, pure deep passes. But then again, they're 26th against play action. So you can also run the football and set up your play action today. The one area they've been pretty good at, I should say, is inside the hashes. They're 15th in the league against intermediate passing. So again, this is a historically bad secondary. This is a historically bad defense. I think it's an upset if the Patriots don't walk out of there scoring at least 31 points today.
The Bengals give up 34 a game. The Jets scored 39 against them a month ago.
And had over 500 yards of offense, which is hard to believe when you watch that team a week ago offensively.
They've given up 500 yards to 3 different offenses this year: Denver, the Jets, and the Bears. Let's not confuse those 3
Yeah.
teams
And the
with
Bears
the
are the most
2001
fraudulent.
Rams.
Yeah, no, and the Bears are the most fraudulent 7-3 team in the league. They could easily be 4-4 and even, dare I say, 3-7. I mean, everybody is applauding Ben Johnson. I can't stand Caleb Williams. I think he's so overrated. And I say Burrow's overrated, but I do, part of the reason I say that is to poke the bear a little bit. I know when Burrow's healthy, he's a top 5 quarterback in the league. Yeah. But Caleb Williams, statistically, John, when you look at him, his numbers are very pedestrian. They're winning because they're running the football, and their defense, while they've been very generous at times, has also come up big late in games. But they've won close games, which is the mark of a good team. I'll give them that. But every time the class of 2024 quarterback conversation comes up, this is why I believed then that Drake May was the best quarterback in that class, and I still believe it because I never bought into the Caleb Williams hype. He's a street baller. He's not my kind of guy. I coached quarterbacks for years. I would never want to coach a quarterback who plays that much out of the system than he does. They're fraudulent, but nonetheless, I digress. To your point, they're historically bad. And when you give up over 500 yards to a Broncos team that has struggled offensively for most of the season, to the Jets who are abhorrent on offense, I mean, this is a defense that is playing two-hand touch in essence. You made a great point earlier that they're piss poor at tackling. They take terrible pursuit angles. Their run fits are bad. I mean, again, they're playing flag football while the rest of the league is playing tackle football.
They have 3 times as many missed tackles as the Patriots, and the Patriots have played 1 more game. And some of the stats on that, as far as missed tackles, you don't get credited with a missed tackle if you're nowhere near the running back or the wide receiver, the playmaker. So they're that far off. I mean, there are plays that literally, like you said, it looks like two-handed touch, and they're not even close to the running back or wide receiver. Trevion Henderson, I would expect today is going to have 2 long runs like he did against Tampa. I mean, he's going to break the line of scrimmage, count to 2, and he's off to the races, and Geno Stone will give up, and he'll score a touchdown. So, I mean, I could see that happen. Geno Stone, well, it gives him right that he doesn't even spell Geno right. He spells it Geno
well, he's
rather
not
than
Italian.
Gino. Well, he wants to be like everybody.
No, that's not fair to say. I mean, that's the anglicized spelling of Geno. There's 2 ways to spell Geno. Not everything can be Italian. I mean, so he
not everything can be Greek, there, Mr. Saranides.
Well, you guys are knockoff Greeks, so there you go. But the thing is,
we perfected everything.
You did. I will give you that.
Yes.
But going back to football and not our ADD rants that we go on, but going back to football, it's one of those things where even when you look at them in terms of how they defend the run, they're still just as bad. But there's a couple of interesting little nuggets that I found in doing research for this game this week. They're 6th in the league against quarterback scrambles, which has been a big part of Drake May's game through 2 seasons so far, is his ability when things break down to put the ball down, take off, extend plays, and gain yards. They're actually pretty good against defending running quarterbacks and quarterbacks who break the pocket and extend plays. So I think part of the reason they're good at that, though, is as bad as they've been defensively, they're really athletic on defense, and they're able to rally to the ball and contain quarterbacks who break the pocket and extend play. So that might not be there as much as it's been in the last few weeks for Drake May. Another interesting little statistic, when it comes to the Bengals offense, they're 2nd in the league in red zone rushing. So if they get in the red zone, Chase Brown is one of the most efficient red zone running backs in the league. He typically scores. Of course, the Patriots' run defense has been really good this season, very good actually, but you're going to be without Milton Williams, who got hurt in that Jets game last week. How much are they going to miss Milton Williams, not just today, but moving forward? Because it appears like he may actually miss, and I don't want to get ahead of myself here too far, but it looks like he's probably going to miss at least a month. How much are they going to miss Milton Williams?
Tremendously. I remember when he signed back in March, I'm like, that's an awful lot of money to pay an interior lineman. He's that good, though. I mean, this is a guy who deserves to be in the Pro Bowl, deserves to be 1st team or 2nd team All-Pro. Maybe he won't be because he's going to miss the final 5 or 6 games, but he has been such an impact player on that defense from game 1. Christian Barmore as well. You can't run against the Patriots. No one has. Now with Milton Williams out, we'll see what happens. I think against the Jets, did they not play Barmore a little bit on the edge as well because they're kind of thin there? So I don't know what's going to happen in the middle of that offense. Cincinnati can run the football a little bit, especially when Flacco's under center. I don't even like the way the Bengals run their offense with or without Joe Burrow. He should be under center more when he plays. I think they throw the ball too much. They don't rely on the running game, whatever. But I think they're going to have to try to run the football today because shorten the game. And if they have some success, and they've had success the last month, keep with it because Milton Williams is that good a player. I've stayed corrected. I thought it was an overpay for a guy who, played 50% of the snaps last year in Philadelphia, which shows you how good that defensive line was. He's been worth every penny and then some. He's been spectacular. You can make a case he's been their second best player this year behind only Drake May.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point, and I agree with you. I think you can. I think if you look at the underlying numbers and you peel the layers back, he's been that good. To your point, he's played at an elite level, and he's justified that contract. And I think that contract did raise some eyebrows. It didn't surprise me because I felt once he hit the open market, there were going to be 4 or 5 teams in on him, and that was going to drive the price up. Ultimately, the Patriots beat out the Carolina Panthers for his services. But again, to your point, he's probably been their second most impactful player behind Drake May. When you look at this Patriots team, what would you say, not so much today, but moving forward, what would you say is a potential Achilles heel for them?
Slow starts, and we've been talking about that really for the last 7 or 8 weeks. They always seem to fall behind. I mean, the Jets' first drive, the Jets looked like a competent offense on Thursday night, and then the Patriots took control from there. You could do that against the Jets. You could do that against Carolina earlier in the season. You could do that against Tennessee midway through the season. But when you get to a playoff situation, and let's say you're playing the Chiefs here in the divisional round or wherever, that can be very complicated. That if you get behind a team like that, they're going to keep coming at you. Their defense is good. They're going to contain you, and they're going to keep on scoring. So slow starts is obviously a problem. And I go as far as this: no matter what, accept the ball to start the game. I know they like to score at the end of the second quarter and start the second half with the ball. That double score that Brady and Belichick perfected. Not everybody's been able to do it. The Patriots did do it against Tampa a few weeks ago. That was very hairy. No matter what, accept the ball. Obviously, if you lose the toss, you're probably going to get it.
Not in a million years am I taking
they won't do it.
I won't do it. No one does it. 90% of the sport defers when they win the toss.
I know.
90%. And I would never take the ball. That is like if I win the toss, I'm deferring every time. I don't care how good my offense is. I want the ball out of the half. You don't know how the game's going to play out. You can't. I see coaches who think, well, we need to score and jump on them and blah, blah, blah. That you're panicking now. You're overthinking it and you're panicking. You always defer. I took the ball once as a head coach, and I still to this day, it's stupid because we won 37-0, and I still hate myself for taking the ball to start the game as a head coach that one time that we won the toss. I hate it.
Let it go. Let it go at this point. But again, there are some coaches that will do that. I mean, Belichick did the reverse in overtime against the Jets 10 years ago, which was kind of mind-bending. But I think Sean Payton's done it occasionally where you say, look, I just want to get my offense in gear right away. They do it.
Specifically offensive coaches, but I don't see the value in it.
The team they're playing today should absolutely do it every game because their defense is so bad. You're putting your worst unit on the field to start the game. Most likely you're going to give up a touchdown and be chasing points all game. If I were the Bengals, I would take the ball right away and try to do something.
And they probably will.
Yeah.
And I think that's a rare example of you can make the argument when you're that bad defensively, you probably should take the ball. But all that being said, 90% of the sport cumulatively defers when they win the toss. Like that just goes to show you. That was a statistic I saw from a couple of years ago. Like that just goes to show you that a lot of coaches, even if you're an offensive coach, oftentimes you have to defer because you want the ball out of the half. You don't know how the first half's going to play out. The double score is a part of your thinking, but it's good to get that first possession out of the half because A, you can either build on your lead if you're leading at the half, or B, it allows you to get back in the game.
I think outside the box.
Passionate about it, I choked.
You got very excited about that, absolutely.
I need some
and I'd let You want me to filibuster? Absolutely. I could filibuster for sure. No, I would just do it a little bit differently. Again, depending on the situation. I'm just thinking the Patriots get after so many slow starts that maybe this is a way of shaking things up and getting them off to
Yeah,
a
no, and I
fast
think
start.
that's a
But
valid,
we're
it's a
we're
valid
being very
reason.
picky here. I mean, we're looking for an Achilles heel for this team. Again, not many teams are top 10 in offense, defense, special teams. They're at 0 in turnovers, which isn't great, but I find that very impressive because they're not winning just because of turnovers. You know, we see these teams like the Vikings last year went 14-3. They won the turnover battle by double digits, and that doesn't happen every year. When you're at 0 in turnover differential and you're still 9-2 and maybe the best team in the AFC, that speaks that your offense, defense, and special teams have been better than the teams that you're playing. And that to me is a great sign. The
Well, it's
slow
their
starts
schedule. It's
concern
that
me.
soft schedule.
No, again, I can have two thoughts in my mind at the same time.
Ken
Food
Mattias checks
and
back in.
music.
Yes, that's right. Ken Mattias checks back in. Apparently, he didn't have anything else to do on a Sunday morning. I don't know if you guys spoke on this. How much will we see running back Ramondre Stevenson today in the running game? Well, if he's active, I could see a scenario where he gets 10 to 12 touches. I still think Travion Henderson probably gets the start, I would think. You never know with Vrabel and the Patriots. I would think Stevenson still gets the start. But I think if he's healthy and cleared and can get touches, I would suspect 10 to 12, maybe 15. But I think he's going to touch the ball enough. I mean, again, he's a really good pass protector. He can be a factor in the passing game. We know what he can do inside the tackles. Again, we don't need to beat the dead horse with how bad this defense is. We know they suck ass, so he's going to get touches. I could see again 10 to 12. I wouldn't give him a full workload. I wouldn't just rush him back in and give him 20 touches. But I think 10 to 12, let him get his feet under him. And it still should be Travion Henderson gets the most snaps. And then we kind of go from there in terms of how they're doled out. I think it's great that he's back. This team is better when the two of them are healthy. They can play off each other. They complement each other well. Their skill sets are similar. Obviously, Henderson is a more explosive player, but I think having him back is huge. And we're going to see a turn with this Patriots offense. We know Josh McDaniels, but we also know with Mike Vrabel that when it starts getting colder, you get into the end of November, early December, they're going to start to run the football more. That identity that we thought we were going to see from the Patriots offensively with Vrabel, I think you're going to start to see it more now. Now, again, it's important to point out that this Patriots offense is game plan specific on a week-to-week basis. That's how you should operate in football. I mean, heck, I've been an offensive coordinator in high school for years, and that's how I've operated, being a multiple week-to-week guy. You play to win. It's not about how good you look and whether or not you win with style. You play to win. Nobody cares about anything but whether or not you won or lost at the end of the day. And for me, when I look at this Patriots offense, I do think you're going to see that evolution here in the coming weeks where you're going to see more two-back, more Westover at fullback, more wide tight ends. You're going to see more of that stuff because I think that they're going to start to play to the end of the season, which you need to do. The great teams that finish and win championships adapt down the stretch. You have to tweak your style. You can't just play one way the entire season. That's the beauty of football and why it's the best sport in the world to coach. You have to change. You have to adapt. I think they're going to do it. So I got a little long-winded there, and I'm known to do that because I'm a blowhard. But I do think
Makes two of us.
you're going to see a decent amount of Stevenson today, John. But I don't think they're going to rush him back either.
No, I wouldn't, because then you play the Giants on Monday night the next week, and then you've got your bye week. So you could technically not play him for the next 2 weeks, the bye week, and have him back theoretically 100%, but you want to get him some touches. I also think, is Kayshon Boutte expected to play? I mean, I know he's been practicing this week.
Yeah, he practiced. So I would think he is, but.
Well, here's my theory on all of this. They saw they're playing the Cincinnati Bengals this week, saw how bad that defense is, and they all said, I got to get out there and pad some stats here. Because running backs look like O.J. Simpson against this team. Wide receivers look like Jerry Rice against this team. And quarterbacks look like Joe Montana against this team. So all the boys that were a little banged up are like, yeah, get me on the field against the Bengals because I'm going to put up some numbers.
And by the way, I know I mentioned Josh McDaniels. I kind of sort of indirectly did that as kind of a way to preface Your question to me this week, could Josh McDaniels potentially be a candidate in Cincinnati if the Bengals make a head coaching change? No, I don't think
Absolutely. You don't think so? I think so.
I know why you think that. He's an Ohio guy. He's from the area. Joe Burrow. The job will be appealing. I don't think, first of all, I don't think they're moving on from Zach Taylor. I'd be surprised if they did. Although with Mike Brown, he's very mercurial. You never know. But the other part of it is I think if you're Josh McDaniels, I think you got to stay put. I don't think you jump at another job this offseason. He didn't coach last year. It's your first year back. I don't think you jump at another job. I think he loves being here. I think he's going to play this out a little longer this time around. I do think he probably wants one more shot at redemption and being a head coach, but I'm not so sure he's going to jump on just anything this offseason.
Well, when he accepted the Colts job, it was for Andrew Luck, because Andrew Luck was still the quarterback there, and then he pulled out at the last second. When he went to the Raiders, Derek Carr, that's not enough to really motivate me to go take a chance as a head coach, although I'd love to be a head coach like anyone else. I'd be awful at it, but the point being,
you would suck at it.
I'd be terrible. I would overprotect the quarterback. The quarterback would not be allowed to leave the house.
2-man routes the entire game, and
keep him upright.
You'd average 8 points a game, if that.
No, be more points than that. I don't know what the defense would do.
It wouldn't, because you'd overprotect the quarterback, and in the NFL, you got to put at least 3 out with a check or 4 out with a check. You can't win throwing the ball in the NFL, putting 1 or 2 guys out every play.
That's a good point.
You would
That's a
suck
good
as
point.
a head coach.
I would, absolutely. I'm not much better as an analyst either. So
best, eating and talking.
Thank you. In that order. Yes. So as far as Josh McDaniels, again, he would go to a place that has the quarterback, right? And the mistakes that Josh McDaniels has made as a head coach, first of all, the owners have given him way too much power, right? He's had control over the roster at both places.
Patriot influence, unfortunately.
Right. And that's not the Bengals operating system.
No.
They've had the same general manager.
Still have a say.
Man, I mean, talk about the most irrationally stable franchise in all of sports. Duke Tobin's been there since 1999 in the same position. In the 4 major sports, there's only been one executive with a longer run, and that's Brian Cashman with the freaking Yankees. They've had 2 head coaches in the last 20 years. I mean, they don't make change. I mean, they're like the most conservative organization.
I don't think Zach Taylor's going anywhere.
Probably not, because they'll just say, well, the quarterback was out for 8 weeks and blah, blah, blah. But the team looks like it's quit, which is a reflection of the head coach. And again, his record without Joe Burrow is 9-29. With him, he's 45-32-1. So I mean, there's some connection there. But I think Josh McDaniels would be great because again, his offensive system I think would work very well with Burrow. I think you have to get him under center more, which he's not real comfortable doing for some reason. But yeah, I think it would be a wonderful place for him to go.
I think a big reason he's not is because he is from that McVay tree. And when you look at that version of the modern West Coast offense, McVay, particularly when Taylor was there, McVay was more in the gun. He's gotten under center more the last 2 years.
Yeah.
But McVay was in the gun more. And I think I think you bring up a great point. I do think that if you're Zach Taylor, that's got to become more of a point of emphasis if you're going to protect this guy and help him out. And they run the football well enough that they can do it. Look, I see why you would ask me that. It makes a ton of sense. He's going to have a franchise quarterback. He's an Ohio guy. He'd be coming home, closer to family, all that stuff. But I'd be, like I said, I'd be shocked if the Bengals moved on from Taylor. To your point, it's just not their style. They don't just dump guys. And B, I think if you're Josh McDaniels, while that job may be appealing, I think it would also depend on how well do you work with a Duke Tobin? Are you ready to go back to being a head coach? He's still young enough that he could slow play this 2 or 3 more years and then go for it one more time. I don't see it happening. Bottom line, I think he's back next year. I'd be surprised if he left. I think he's back next year. And then I think after next year, especially if they have a good season, then yeah, we could start to have that conversation about him potentially leaving. But I'd be surprised, man. I think he wants to see this through a little bit with Drake May and Vrabel.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, he's still well paid. He loves the area. His family's grown up here. This is another feather in his cap if he develops this quarterback to this level. I mean, it's stunning where Drake May was a year ago and where he is now. And I think we have to give a lot of credit to Drake May. I mean, it's easy to say Mike Vrabel's had an influence on Drake May and Josh McDaniels has had an influence on Drake May. Drake May's had a ton of influence on Drake May because he's that good. He's that talented, that smart a quarterback, that tough on the field, leadership, all that stuff. He's grown on me to the point where he's now my second favorite quarterback. So that's a good sign.
Yes, people were waiting with bated breath to see where he ranked in terms of your favorite quarterback. So I'm glad you clarified that.
Well, I do have to clarify one thing. I love Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers right now is my quarterback. No, I didn't quit on him. He's my quarterback emeritus. Because he's 42 years old. So I know he's on the downside. So it's time to move on.
I didn't know you before Aaron Rodgers in the sense that
that's how long I've liked him.
2010. Whatever it was.
Yeah.
So I didn't know who your favorite quarterback was before that. So I only know you to tongue bathe and glaze two quarterbacks, Rodgers and Burrow. Now apparently you're on that path with May, which is kind of fraudulent because you kind of sort of have been I don't want to say a Patriot hater, but a Patriot.
No.
You were frustrated with the fan base at times.
The fan base, yes. Not ownership. The players or the coaches love them all. I mean, Tom Brady, how can't you admire what that guy did or Bill Belichick did and what a great owner Robert Kraft has been? I mean, 30 years it's been success after success. The fan base is a bit irrational and obnoxious and all of those things.
Fan bases, though.
Not quite like this, other than maybe the Philadelphia Eagles.
I think there's way worse ones.
Well, okay. Now, you're saying I'm fraudulent because I can have two favorite quarterbacks or two quarterbacks that I like in the NFL at the same time.
No, you're fraudulent for a lot of reasons.
For a lot of reasons, that's true. I get it. But you are a Red Sox and a Yankees fan? So
that's fraudulent.
Please.
No.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for admitting that. Thank you for admitting that.
That is fraudulent. I wholeheartedly agree. That is 100% fraudulent. But the thing with the Yankees is I've admired them from afar for a long time. George Steinbrenner was probably my favorite owner in sports, former college football coach, bought the Yankees from CBS and restored the glory. And I mean, again, how do you not love his fake appearances on Seinfeld and some of the Steinbrenner stories you hear when he was suspended? He's a legend. And how do you not love the Yankees, who the Yankees are, the 27 World Championships? I think it's the best uniform in baseball. Aaron Judge is my favorite player in the sport. Now, all that being said, I grew up in Boston, born in Milwaukee, grew up in Boston, growing up going to Red Sox games. Of course, the Red Sox are in my blood. I love the Red Sox, but I don't hate the Yankees. I don't. I'm sorry. I never have, never will. So
I never have either. I never have. I've always admired them. Again, being Italian-American, you kind of trend towards the Yankees because they had so many Italian-American players, DiMaggio, Berra, Rizzuto, Mickey Mantle's name ended in a vowel, so we'll accept him as well. So, yeah, we accept that team, obviously. No, I think the Yankees are pure class. But don't call me fraudulent and be a Red Sox and Yankees fan. I mean,
you're still fraudulent. All right, let's move on to final thoughts here. How do you see this one ultimately playing out, and do you have a score for us?
34-24 Patriots. I think Flacco can still sling the thing, and T. Higgins is still a tough cover, and they can run the football a little bit. I think the crowd will be into it. They have a really good fan base there. Here's the reaction I'm going to see, and we may be doing the postgame show today. If the Patriots score like 31 points, you know what talk radio is going to be all this week. What's wrong with their offense? They only scored 31 points against a team that gives up 33 points a game and is god-awful. That will be the narrative, right? But again, game plan specific. You want to get Ramondre Stevenson some touches. And look, there's going to be things that they're going to do that maybe the matchup is good for Cincinnati. I don't know how, but maybe the Bengals will stumble in and play a good game defensively and hold the Patriots to 34, which for them is a good game for the Bengals defense. So I say 34-24 could be a somewhat entertaining game, but the Patriots are just better everywhere on the field.
All right, we didn't even do your three keys because we got bogged down with the minutia. See, we gotta refocus.
Can I give you one key?
Can I give you to get the better of us?
Can I give you one key?
Sure.
When you're on offense, abstain from laughing at how bad the Bengals defense is. Like when they're not anywhere near anyone and they can't tackle, don't laugh. Just run into the end zone, spike the ball and move on.
All right. Well, that'll do it for this week's episode of the Patriots Pulse Preview Show. For John Sapichetti, I'm John Serenitas. We will be back with you after the game. Until then, enjoy the game, and as always, peace.